Hey everyone, today is the session number 14 of the Let's Build, and we're going to make a kettle so that you can boil some water and then fill some cups with what you've made. So there is more and more games, some coffee shops or social games, so that can be something that can be used for that type of game. So I guess we're going to cover the trigger, the animations, maybe using some high key animation, and yeah, let's just start with the kettle. So let's maybe we can just use some wood planks for here, and let's place a table in the scene. All right, so is there some kettle? Maybe we have better one in the community content. Nope. Maybe kitchen. Yeah, that would be great. Maybe someone I can build that, and maybe someone during the or maybe pot. That's right. Maybe if someone wants to build one, maybe that one. I would prefer something like a bottle or something like that. Yeah, let's maybe here. We have that. Yeah, let's say that we're going to use that kind of objects. All right, so I need. So this will be maybe this can be the mug that I'm going to fill. All right. And we'll have also maybe this can just be a bottle right now, but the goal is to play an animation so that I can add some liquid inside. Let's just move them out of that so that I can delete the rest. All right. Oh, and yeah, I need that. Well, maybe this can be the kettle, and we can just change the skin right after, but we have the hank and we have everything we need, so let's first prototype with that, and then we can make a better skin for that one. And yeah, as this session is live on the core Discord, you can, like if you're watching that on YouTube, you can come next Tuesday at 10 AM Pacific time, and yeah, give your ID for the next Let's Build session. All right, so first I think we're going to make the equipment so that you can grab that in your hand. So yeah, if I want to grab that kind of object in my hand, let me just change like that. I need an equipment, so let's make an equipment here. I'm dropping that in the scene, and that equipment will have geo, and let's make a geo. Oops. Let's make a clown context here, because that's just the visual aspect. We don't need collision with that object. So I'm making a clown context, and I'm going to drop like this will be the kettle. Right now it's not looking like a kettle, but that's all right. Okay, so that will be the equipment, and I want to attach that not on the head of the player, but in the right hand. So I'm going to use the right prop here. and that's the Kettle equipment. All right, so now if I start, you see that so when I'm moving on that object, maybe I can place that here. All right, so you see that when I go next to that, I'm equipping the kettle, but it's not oriented, well oriented. So I think I'm just going to move the object. So that's, you see that here you have the equipment, so that's the center point of the equipment is here. So if I move that object like that, we should have something that is more like in the hand of the player. All right, well, almost. That's a great way to to have something like that in your hand, but I think we can just move that a bit like that. And yeah, we are almost there. The thing is that I don't want the player to have the hand next to the body, so we're going to use the IK animation so that it just stays in front of the player. All right, so to do that kind of stuff, we need the IK how is it called? Is it inverse kinematics? No. Just anchor here. The IK anchor. So that's something to place. Like a hand or the leg of a player at a specific place, and that's how you can make custom animations. So here the anchor type is the right hand because we want to move the right hand of the player, and let's say that because I want that hand to stay always in front of the player. I think I'm going to make an equipment that is based on the pelvis of the player, so in the middle of the body, and I'm going to move that IK anchor inside in the client context because the IK anchor are only for the client. That's just the animation, so the server doesn't really need to know that there is an IK here. And let's move that at 0, 0, 0. So that's kind of the IK right hand Kettle. So by default, I want to equip that on the player. And let's say that when it's equipped, then I want to activate the anchor. So I want to place the hand at that position. So if I move that right here, let's add a script to activate that anchor. Right hand. So I need a reference to the IK. So let's just drop that in the custom property. And now that I have a reference to that object, I can say that you have to activate it. So if I use activate, I can start the game, and it's not active, it's activate. Expected player. Oh yeah, I need to give the player for that anchor. So I'm going to use the local player. Let's use game.get local player. Because that script is inside a client context, that one is inside a client context, I can get the local player that is currently playing. And let's activate that for the current player. We should check then if it's working in multiplayer preview, but yeah, you see that it's almost working. I should just change the orientation of the I key. So by default, you see that there is a small ball here next to the hand. I can change the aim offset here. So you see that if I move that, then it's moving the aim offset. And so because I want the elbow to be down, I'm just going to move that like this. And I think now so not yet. That's the thing with I key, you have to try a lot of different, maybe that's too far from the player. So let's move it back. Yes, nice. Maybe a bit higher. All right. Yeah, maybe I should move a bit you see that it was too close from the chest of the player, so I'm going to move that ball on the right with that. And that's better. I think that's way better. So now I can get that, and you see that I have that in my hand. So that's great. I could even maybe play the animation to drink if I want to drink from that. But the goal is to place that in the cup. All right. Maybe we can move a bit. Well, yeah, I just want to move that just a bit like that, I think, and maybe rotate. Yeah. All right. Let's go with that. And so the idea is now I can press F to fill those cups. Maybe before I can show how many, like if there is some water inside that object. Oh, also, by the way, I should only give that equipment when it gets that equipment. So one way to do that, let's make a new template from that, and we're going to spawn and equip that to the player. Let me think how we can handle that. No, I think by default, we're going to use the static equipment, static player equipment. That's just a script that is giving an equipment to everyone. So when someone is joining, then by default, you see that there is a top hat. So when I join, now I have a top hat. I just want to, instead of using the top hat, I'm going to give that equipment. So that's the right hand in front of the player. And I don't want to replace that on each spawn. So now by default, you see that the animation is here. So if there is several players, then everyone will get that one. But by default, I don't want to activate that. So I can say that I want to connect to equip. Is it Kettle like that? Yeah. Equip Kettle, and I want to call a function that will just activate that. And maybe I can do the same thing where I have unequip to deactivate. And yeah, maybe instead of using the local player, I'm going to give the player as a parameter. Yeah, I think we have to use that if you want to make it work for the multiplayer. All right, so you see that now that script is really simple. I'm connecting to two events that I'm not broadcasting yet. I'm just saying that if that script receives the equip kettle, then I'm activating the I key to have my hand in front of me. And when I receive the unequip, then it deactivates. Now, let's make the script that is broadcasting those events. So when I equip that equipment, let's rename that geo, and I'm going to make a script that detects when the equipment is equipped and unequipped. So that's the Kettle equipment client. All right, so in that script, I need a reference to the Kettle equipment because I need to use the events that are linked to an equipment. So you can either check in the documentation. If I go in the core API, then there is something called equipment, and here you can see the events, and so you can detect. You have one event that is fired when the equipment is equipped onto a player, and when it's unequipped from a player. So that's the two events that I need. Maybe I can check the example here to just take those functions, and I'm going to pass them just right here. So here I have to replace the primary equipment by my Kettle equipment, and when it's equipped, I don't want to do that. I just want to broadcast equip Kettle with the player that just equipped that item. Because if I have two players in the game, I don't want both to have the animation. I just want that specific player that equipped that equipment to activate the animation. And then I can do the same here when it's unequipped. All right. So now by default, you see that there is no animation. And when I pick that, you see that now I have the animation. So it's not staying. Yeah, so here you see that we have some error because the object is already destroyed. So let's just take that if I think it's if player is valid. So if the key anchor is valid and the player is valid, then I want to deactivate. The thing is that maybe sometimes when it will call that function, one of these objects will be already destroyed. So that's why we have this kind of error. Now that should be better. All right. Yes. So now you see that it's working. So when I get that, I have the animation, and if I bring two players, all right. If I take that one, oh, it's not really working for that player. It seems like it's not moving. Yeah, that's weird because it's attached to the pelvis. It seems like there is an error here. That's the same thing. So it seems like here sometimes the keys has been destroyed. So let's just add the if the anchor is valid and the player is valid, then I want to activate. All right, let's try again. So it's working well on here. So you see that the animation is working, but not for the player on the left. It seems like it's just yeah, that's weird. That's the key seems to be not rotating with the player, but it is in the for the other player. What could cause that? So by default, they are all getting that. Let's just print the player name to see if like they are both receiving the same the same event. Okay, so it seems that they received that 3 times. Oh, that's right. There is the carry stance. We could also use that, but I wanted to use the I key because we're going to use them for another type of animation. But that's right. Like the player also have some animation by default, so we can check here. So there is the carry object. Is it that one? Carry object low. Yeah, with the arm at waist height, so that's if you want to hold a mug or that kind of stuff. I just don't know if there is an animation to like to fill a glass with a bottle, something like that. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, maybe for the equipment we can just use that. That's right. Let's just use the animation that are built in core. So when I equip that equipment, I'm just going to add a new script. That's the Kettle equipment server. And so that's the animation that I want. And I'm going to change that when it's equipped or not. So I guess I can remove that right now. We can just remove that script. And so the object is the parent, so Kettle equipment equals script.parent. And so instead of broadcasting, we're going to change the animation stance. I think it's from the server. You can't do that from the client. Let's just try like that. And so if it's unequipped, then I want to set that to, is it the unarmed by default? That's that one, I think. Yes. All right, let's try again if this is working. Yeah, I think I forgot. Yeah. So the script is not here because I forgot to just enable networking on that. Now that should be better. Yes. So you see that now I have the carry animation. And let's try with 2 players. So I can remove that, remove the client too. And yeah, now it's working. So so here I'm changing the stance, so the animation stance for that player, and it's using that stance. Now I want to like when I press click next to a cup, I want to fill that cup with the kettle. That's not looking like a kettle, but that's right for the for the Let's Build. So what do we need here? Maybe first we can have a trigger. Oh, barge, that's a nice one. Is it? Yeah, I think it's something I can import. Let's use the one that you've just made. All right. Save. And I'm going to import that. If I go to downloads, all right, I should have it here. Yep, perfect. So let's use that one. That's more looking like what we want. All right, so let's move that geo and let's just place that in the client context. All right. Yeah, the table is a bit small. Okay, so I have to rotate that on the right. So I think is it on the left or on the right? Yeah, let's try on the right. No, it seems like it was like that and like that. Yeah, just have to move it a bit lower. I think that's not how you handle a kettle, but that's right. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it seems okay for me. So now I can try to place my arm on top of the glass and try to fill that. So how are we going to make that? So the idea is that I have to place an I key anchor just at just above here. So that's the right hand. And yeah, I just want to place my hand here. And for the animation, I think I will just do something like that and rotate the I key. All right. So the thing is that I don't want that I key to be everywhere, so I don't want a lot of I key like that on on each mug. So what I'm going to make is so that's the mug. Let's call that mug. So inside we have the geo. That's the visual aspect of the mug, and if I try to place the I key anchor here, you see that there is some specific position and rotation that I need, but it depends on the position of the player, because maybe if the player is right here, then we have to move the hand there and to rotate. So instead of doing that would be a bit complicated. I'm just going to make a group that will be at the position 0, 0, 0. And by default, I'm going to place the hand with a rotation of 0. All right. Like that. Maybe like that. And the thing is that now that I have this group with the I key anchor at the bottom, I can just rotate that group, and you see that the anchor is also moving based on the position based on the rotation of the group. So that's great. Now we can call that the mug I key anchor, and we can make a new template from this, and that should be, you see that here it's network, but I don't want that. I want that group to be a client context. So let's make a new client context containing that. All right, so here let's place everything at 0. So now I have this client context and the I key anchor inside. All right, let's make a new template from this. And so the idea is that now that I have this mug right here with the geo, if there is another mug like at another place in the world, if I want to play the animation on that mug, I can just spawn that object in the mug, and you see that the hand is placed at the right place. So now I'm thinking that maybe we should. The thing is that here, if I want to spawn that object, I have to either network it or spawn that from a client context. And I don't really need to, I don't want to network that object. So I'm just going to make a client context that will be the animation placeholder. And so I'm going to spawn that IKey anchor inside the animation placeholder. So let's make a template from the mug. All right, so now we have our mug. And the goal here is that when the player is next to that, I want, let's use a trigger right now just to detect when the player is next to the mug. Yeah, we can place that in the animation placeholder. All right, so because it's inside the client context, no, I want everyone to see the animation. Yeah, we can keep that in the client context. I'm going to force the collision because if you see that with a trigger inside the client context, if it's inherit, then it's not detecting the player. So I want to add that here, and I want that trigger to be interactable, and I can call that fill. So now if I go next, you see that I have the something saying that I can fill the cup. But I can only do that if I have the kettle in my hand. So now if I press F, I have to play the animation, and yeah, that should be great. So let's say that I want to detect when the player press F, so when it interacts with the trigger. So I'm going to make a new script that's the Kettle fill client. We can call that way. And so I will have the trigger that's the parent of the script. And we want the interacted event. So that's not the same as the begin overlap or end overlap. That's when the player press F. So now I can connect that with the trigger and the player here. And so here, what we have to do, we have to enable the IKey animation. Like I can just place IKey animation because we have to spawn the template we did. So is it like the mug IKey anchor? We have to activate it for X seconds. Let's say like 3 seconds. Seems fine. We have to spawn maybe water VFX. And then there is the fill the cup and remove from the kettle, like remove 25% from the kettle. All right, a lot of things to do. 25 minutes, that should be okay. First I have to spawn the anchor next to the mug. So I'm just going to give that mug IKey anchor to my script here. And I want to spawn asset, and I'm going to spawn the IKey anchor. And I don't want to give a position or anything. I just want to give the parent, and the parent will be the animation placeholder. So let's get that animation placeholder. All right. And that will be the parent. So let's try that. If I press F, you see that now inside the animation placeholder, we have the mug IKey anchor. It's not placed at the right position, but right now we're just going to try to activate that I key. So that's the I key group. I can't just do I key group activate because as you can see here, that's not an I key anchor. The I key anchor is inside that group. So instead of just doing that, I think I'm going to say that I'm going to make a variable called iKeyAnchor that I can find child by type maybe, and the type is iKeyAnchor. If you want to check what kind of types you can send to the find child by type, you can open the documentation, and here you have all the types that are available in core. So I think here we have the iKeyAnchor. So that's a type that's valid, and it will get me a child that has the type iKeyAnchor. And from that, I can call the activate function. Then we can wait 3 seconds, and then we can deactivate, and then maybe we can destroy the object that we spawned. Let's try like that. All right, so if I press F, it's not working because the iKeyAnchor need the player. So I'm just going to give the player as a parameter here. I don't think I need the player in the deactivate. All right, activated and then deactivated. All right, so that's working, like that logic is working. You see that there is just an issue with the rotation. And yeah, so Optical is asking if it's recorded. It's recorded, and that will be in the forum tomorrow and on YouTube soon. So I will give the link in the showcase channel tomorrow with the record. And you can find also the other one in the like on YouTube and in the forum too. All right, so it's almost done. The main issue I have here, so when I press F, you see that here it's spawning the anchor. Then I activate it. That's why there is the whale animation. Yeah, so you see it's just trying to get as close as it can. Maybe we can start with the rotation. So how are we going to detect the rotation? Let's just try something. Maybe that will not work, but let's say that the world rotation of that group will be like a new rotation. So 0, 0 for the X and Y, and the Z is like when you turn on yourself. So let's just get the world rotation of the player, and we're going to world rotation, and we're going to take the Z value. So now that group will take the rotation of the player. So if I try here, you see that so the kettle is on the left. If I go here, it's still on the left. So that's great. Now the I key is just not placed at the right position, so I'm going to move that one like that, and maybe a bit higher. Yeah, I think so. It's almost that. Yeah, I should just rotate that. That's the thing with iKey today. You like that's a bit difficult to find the animation with the right position. Just when you start. Yeah, I forgot to update the template. All right. So that's almost it. Just rotated in a weird way. I have to also rotate like that. All right. Let's use the first person. I think we'll see that better. So first person. All right, nice. That's better. Okay. So maybe a bit. Yeah, I should place that a bit higher. Nice. So okay, so it's, yeah, I think it's working like that. Maybe we just need the small effects. Yeah, I think you won't have that kind of realism in other games. But that's something you can do with Core. Like, you can really go in the small details. And yeah, it's just a bit of setup to have. You see that, yeah, here when I'm rotating with the player, it's moving that, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to how can we do that? So that's done. Yeah, maybe we can just spawn the water VFX, and then we're going to do the server logic, so that sometimes maybe your kettle will be empty and then you have to refill it to fill other mugs. So yeah, the water VFX. So to do that, I'm just going to here we have the equipment, kettle equipment. And we're going to place I think there is a waterfall, basic water splash. No, not the water splash. Water jet. Yeah, that's the one. Can't really see it like that. All right, so that's what we need. Maybe a bit like more density, even like 10. Yep. Life will be 0.2. Particle multiplier like that. That's maybe a bit too much. And the velocity is too much. Okay. So now we'll have that at the top of the object, and I need to rotate that one. So first let's move that in the equipment, in the clown context, because that's just an effect. And I'm going to rotate that. All right. Doesn't really look like like water. I don't know what I can change here to make it look a bit better. I think maybe with the same velocity on the particles. Yeah, that's better. All right. And I'm just going to make again script for the kettle equipment, but client this time. And I just want to hide and show the water jet VFX. So as I did before, I'm going to connect to the start kettle filling. Or, how can I call that? Yeah. Or just kettle animation. And I'm going to set the visibility to, yeah, that's the pour animation, that's right. Maybe Kettle pour, that's right. So I am going to set the visibility to inherit, and then I'm going to wait for 3 seconds, and then I'm setting back the visibility to force off. So just by changing the visibility of the water jet, I think we'll have yeah, I think that should work. And I'm just sending that info so that when I'm activating the I key, I want to broadcast that event. And now I'm activating the I key and also spawning the water VFX. Let's and by default the visibility is force off. Nice. Well, it's not filling the mug, but we have the animation. Yeah, that's not going where I wanted. Let's just move the I key anchor like that. Nope. I don't want to fill the cap if it's not exactly in the cap. Yeah, I just have to move it like that. So yeah, working with I keys sometimes a bit complicated, but yeah, when it's working, then it's great. Okay, almost. And maybe I can also move the aim offset just so that the arm will be yeah, maybe something like that. So as I said just before, the aim offset is the continuation of that part of the body, and yeah, I think it's, yeah. Let's say that it's working like that. I don't want to spend more time on that. Just maybe like that. I want the perfect one. All right, so now I have to fill the glass with water. So I'm just going to use a cylinder that I'm going to place inside the mug. So let's set the scale to 0.1. I'm going to place that in the middle. And so I don't want that type of cylinder. I want a cylinder that's, I think there is one that's bottom-based. Yep, bottom-aligned cylinder. Because the great thing with the bottom-aligned cylinder is that you can, you see here on the table, I can just change the scale here. And you see that, so if it's 0, then it's not filled. And if I move that to 0.3, maybe that's too much, 0.15, you see that it will fill the cup, the mug. So let's place it here. Let's increase the size of that. Okay. And I'm going to, that's a huge mug. I think we can fill four mug like that with that little kettle, but that's all right. And so that's the water, and I'm just going to use the water material. Maybe that one, but with less noise. So if you want to change that kind of effect that you can have on some materials, you can create a new custom material, and here from that you can change the I guess it's the Fresnel. Nope. Bubble. Nope. Scale, maybe? Okay, so that's the scale of the bubble. You see that on the material, we can see that here. Displacement, okay, that's the one. Let's move it like that. Maybe not 0. We want that to move a bit. And let's reduce the scale so that it's not... All right. Looks great, I think. Maybe we can just remove the bubbles. All right, so this is the... where is it? Mug here. I have the water here, and so by default, this will be set to 0, and I want to increase to 0.15. So let's get that water, and here I have my water object. And yeah, then after we can try in the multiplayer preview. Thanks for asking, Sinzar, because that's an important part. And so here I'm going to say that the water has to scale to, so let's make a new vector 3, 0, 0, 0.15. That was the final scale that we want to achieve, and we want to reach that in 3 seconds. Let's try that. Oh, no, it's not 0. I should just change the Z. So let's, like the new scale is the current scale, get scale, and then let's just change the Z to go to the 0.15, and now we can apply that new scale. Woo! It's working. Well, the I key is not at the right place. Yeah, I pressed F before getting that. But yeah, you see that it's almost working, just not placed at the right place. Okay, so let's try with the multiplayer preview. Is this working? So you see that, yeah, it's only triggered for that player and not for the other one, because if we check, if we look here at the equipment, so the interacted event is only for the current player. So the other player doesn't know that that other player interacts with the trigger. So let's say that we're going to move the trigger inside the server context so that everyone knows that someone used the trigger, and then we're just going to connect. So let's connect to fill mug, and then we want to give, let's say, the ID of the mug and the player that is doing the animation. And so we're just going to move everything inside here, and instead of doing the interact in that trigger that's in the client, I'm just going to, let's remove that too. I'm going to make a new script. First, let's make the trigger. So gameplay object trigger. Let's place that next to the cup. All right. And now I need a new script. That's the mug trigger server. And so as I did in the client context, I want the trigger, so that's the parent of that script. If we see here, the script is the child of the parent. And here, when it gets interacted by, like if a player interacts with that, I want to broadcast to all players. So I want to send that info. That's called fillMug. And so you see here that I want to give the ID of the object. That's just so that all the mug won't be triggered by that. So the ID for the server, it will be the ID of the mug. So let's take that mug, and I'm just going to send the mug.id and then the player. And so here in the client, here I'm receiving the ID of the mug and the player. And let's get the mug also here. So now I can say that if the mug ID is not the same as the ID that I receive, just do nothing, because you're not the mug that is concerned by that event. And I think that's the easiest way to do that. Let's just try in single player preview. It's not working. Let's just print small debug here. I think one script is missing. Oh, I just forgot to set the trigger to interact. All right. So now I can interact with the trigger. Before I couldn't. It's still not working. Yeah, so it's not executed. Why? I have the trigger here, interactable interaction label. Is it like showing for the user? Or? Yeah, we have the fill here. We get the trigger. No, by default, that's detecting the... yeah, even if I use the force on, I think it will just detect when the player press F. I don't know why it's... Oh, let's just try with the multiplayer preview. Sometimes I know that I have some issues with that kind of trigger. Let's just try. Yeah, no, it's not detecting when the player press F. Let's just print if... oh, maybe it's just waiting for the object. That's the hey one. Okay, so... yeah, that should work. Trigger interacted event. Yeah, maybe we can try to enable networking, but I don't think it's working that way. Why is it not working? Let's look at the documentation. Trigger events, interacted event, and we have here an example. Maybe we can just pick that. Yeah, interactable fill. So that's trigger. Let's print the hey right here, and I'm going to comment that. It's not happening. Oh yeah, there is still the client trigger here. I think that's the thing. So it was just only trigger with the client script. Yeah, now it's working. Thanks, Inza. I just didn't see that trigger that was still in the client context. So yeah, now that should work. Now the server can detect that one because there is only one trigger at that position, and now that should work. Yes. All right, and let's see in the multiplayer preview. So yeah, just don't try to overlap two triggers. It can cause that kind of effects. All right. And now it's working, even if I'm just placing everything on myself. And you see that here I can still fill the cup, but something I can do is that once so I can set that to inherit. Once the trigger is used one, then I can say that the trigger is interactable equals false. And now I can just fill that once. And now that I have the trigger on the server, I can even say that the player can't move. So player.movement mode equals, let's just check that in the player right here. And movement mode here. Movement mode yeah, I think there is another example. Here we have all the values. Movement mode. Here it's none, so you can't move. That's what I want. Movement mode none. And after 3 seconds, then I want the player to move back. So that's not the movement, that's the movement control mode, sorry. Movement control mode, and then we want to use the look relative. Movement control mode, that's the one. So you see that by default here you can set that the player can't move with that data set to 0, so the movement control mode none. And I think that's the one for the... Maybe I can just save it. Prev movement control mode equals that value. So that now that will work even if you're not using the first person or the third person, then I can just use the prev one here. So here I'm saving the previous, setting the movement to known, then after 3 seconds, the player can move again. And yeah, now I can't move with my player. I can still rotate. I think we can change that here, look control mode. Because yeah, that's not something that you should do. Don't try to move when you try to fill something with a kettle. So that's the player look control mode. And then I want to set it back. Look control mode equals the previous one. So now I can't move the camera or anything. You can even add some SFX if you want, because now you see that here you can do what you need from the server context. So maybe I can give a resource to the player to know like how many mug he just received. And yeah, so Barge is asking now to give some health to that mug. I think one way to do that would be to like spawn another object, like to spawn. Yeah, maybe we can. Do we have time to do that? We are almost. Yeah, we're already over time. The thing is that. So if you want to make that so that when someone comes here, you have to spawn a mug equipment so that the player can get that in their hand, and then you can you can either use the resource pickup. That's the thing, so that when someone is next to that, by default it's getting some gems. But you see that you can also set that like it's not giving any resource, but you gain 25 when you get that one. So let's say that's the health mug. And so here, instead of using gems like that, you can like say that that's the new mug that the player can get. And so now that I know that that mug is filled, I can say that you have to spawn that object. So let's say World.SpawnAsset health mug, and the parent will be the mug. So now if I try to fill that, you see that it's spawning the object, and so when I grab it, I can't take it. Yeah, I have some issues with the trigger today. But the thing is that, yeah, if you spawn that resource, the player should be able to get that one. Maybe I just forgot to check something. Oh yeah, because my hit points are at 100, I think I can't get that one. I think, yeah, that should be the thing. Like if you can't get some health from that, yeah. Maybe just to try something, let's say that we have the player joined event, so that when someone joins, I want to set the hit points to 50. So now I have some hit points to gain. And let's move that here. So now I think I can get that one. Yep. And so if I fill that, now I can also get the 25 hit points. And so now I'm not at 75, but 100. And maybe you can then destroy the mug too. Like if your mug is like a networked template, or even just networked, you can say that when you spawn that new mug, you want to destroy the old mug. Because it's the parent, it won't work. So you can just say that the position of your health mug is the position of your mug, and And now, so it will spawn that new mug and destroy the old one. So if I fill that one, you see that now I have that new mug, and then I can drink it by just getting next to that. But yeah, then you can add some animations, and you can add a lot of different stuff from that. That just, yeah, if you want that kind of level of details with animation and that kind of stuff, you see that it can take some time to just like get what you want from like with the I-key and all that kind of system. Maybe I can just open that once again. So if like what we've made here is that now you can pick Kettle in your hand, and then you can fill that. So that's just what we did. Maybe we have to rotate the Kettle a bit. Let's just do that. That would be a bit better, like that. Yeah, that's better. I don't know why I can't just find it seems like I can't find the right position for that. Yes, we did it. All right, so let's just and replace that health mug with the right one, and then we'll have CC that maybe you can use now in your game. Just going to copy that geo here, place that 0, 0, 0. And here I just need also to give the water so that the health mug will have some water by default inside. Zero. All right. And now we're good to go, I think, with that new health mug. So let's try that in the full screen mode. So now if I go next to that, I can fill the cup. Oh, that's not the same size. And I can't get it because now I have 100 HP. I removed the thing. But in theory, I could just grab that and get the 25 health points. And yeah, I just want to show one little thing. I should stop now. We are way over, but I just want to show one last thing. We can say that by default, you can fill like number fields. It's like 4 by default. Let's say that to 1. So when the mug is destroyed, then you might want to remove the number of fields by 1. And so if the number of fields is less or equal to 0, then you want to maybe say that you have to refill the kettle. And here, if the number of fields is less than 0, then you return because you can't fill if it's empty. So yeah. Now if I try that, you see that in the event log I have the refill the kettle because I used the single used like the single yeah, where is it? It's not that one. And yeah, that's not the right place because that's the mug. So that's not in the mug that you should store that. But you can store that in the kettle equipment here. And yeah, maybe just before broadcasting that event, be sure that the player first has the kettle equipment. We already looked at that in another Let's Build. So to detect if a player has a specific equipment, I think we did that last week. And yeah, then using that kind of logic so that you have to refill the kettle to use that. Or maybe like, because it's hot, you have to use them fast, because then if you wait, let's say 5 minutes, then it gets cold and you have to make it boil again. So yeah, a lot of things to do. So that was a huge Let's Build. We covered a lot of different stuff: networking, IK animation, VFX, and spawning things and giving resources. So that was, I hope you enjoyed it. So as I said before, you can find this video on YouTube. Maybe you're watching that on YouTube. And we'll have the next session next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time on the Discord, like the core community Discord server. And yeah, thanks everyone for following that. And I will see you next week.